Welcome to Mot Today. What's going on, everybody?
Welcome, everybody.
How's it going, man?
Good. Hope everyone's doing good. This is MOT number 11.
Yeah. Yep. So we got a pretty good one for you today. As always, we're going to jump right into the local stuff, but we'll give it a second here. Let some people come on in,
And make sure you guys like, share, subscribe.
Yeah, be sure to do that. Like, share, subscribe. The likes definitely help the algorithm. And yeah, I mean, we try to provide you with perspectives that you may not hear from other places and try to be as objective as possible. I know a lot of news organizations claim to do that, but we actually do that. So, yeah, man. So there's a lot going on in the news right now. There's a lot, actually. I was going through Twitter yesterday, the day before, and you're just seeing stuff everywhere. Whether it be in crypto, whether it be in current events, it doesn't matter. There's so much going on right now, and so many people are focusing on the Ukraine-Russia narrative, but there's a lot of other things taking place right now that I feel are flying under the radar, which we'll touch on some of that stuff later on in the episode. But yeah, I feel like lately the news has just been crazy.
Yeah, I tried to look up like news headlines online on Google, and I had to scroll through like 3 pages of Google search before I could find anything other than Ukraine.
Right. It is insane. And I mean, there's other wars going on right now. I mean, we're going to talk a little bit about Yemen later on. But for instance, I mean, Yemen, there's a legitimate war going on. Not saying that there isn't a war or whatever going on in Ukraine.
An actual genocide.
Yes, like this has been going on for years, and there's not much coverage about it. And it makes you wonder. It makes you wonder a lot. And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that, we are aligned with Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia and Yemen are the ones at war, really. So,
yeah.
But
yeah. Make sure you guys check out all of our social media too. We got some things down here. We're on Telegram, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok,
everywhere.
I think I missed something.
It's all good. So, and then we also have some more video editing coming our way, clips that is, from a lot of the episodes we do. So that's going to be really exciting. We're going to be trying to post more frequently on Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram, everywhere. We already try to get out articles every day for you. Trying to do some clips as well. Just got to keep that stuff up. But yeah, so let's jump right into it. Let's jump into what's going on here in Ohio. It's actually taking place in multiple other states too. So it's relevant to a lot of the country because gun laws are changing, and they are changing in ways many people probably are unaware of because of the narrative around gun control being so strong, and that being an anti-gun narrative. Well, there's a lot of states that are working towards doing away with the requirement to conceal carry, in which you would have to have a license. They're doing away with it. Alabama's done it. A few other states have done it, and Ohio is working towards doing this right now. I believe both houses have passed it, and now it's up to Mike DeWine to sign it into law.
Yeah, it's sitting on his desk supposedly still, so he's probably not going to sign it today. It's Sunday. Maybe he'll sign it tomorrow, or maybe he won't sign it.
Right.
He's probably talking to his lobbyists right now to figure out which one's going to give him the most money or something before he makes his decision. I'm not really sure how all that works, but
yeah, I mean, also,
is it going to get me elected?
Exactly. The public relations, money, all that. And we talked about this, I believe, last week. I'm for it. I think it's a good idea. There's a lot of police departments that are against it. And the reason being is you don't know who owns the weapon, or you don't know who has the concealed carry, and there's no background check in order to, vet whoever owns it.
Well, you have to have a background check. If you buy a gun from a store, you have to have a background check. But if you just buy it from someone, then you don't have to have a background check. But I think the federal laws are changing on that. I think they're trying to change that. I'm not really sure.
They are, but The difference, though, you're right. They do background checks when you buy a gun. That's 100% true. What they also do is a background check, I think, when you go get your concealed license to make sure that you actually can own a concealed. I think there's different regulations for that, if I'm
Probably they
not
want to
mistaken.
check your background as much as they can.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand it. Like, I can play devil's advocate and say it'll be a little concerning to have people who are unvetted carrying weapons concealed and you'll never know it. But people are doing that already.
Yeah,
And I think crime rates are actually going up in the United States, and I think they're only going to go up.
yeah,
So, for those who are responsible and want to protect their families, protect themselves, protect others, it's not a bad idea to just completely decrypt, just take out the nonsensical regulations and allow everybody to just conceal carry if they wish.
yeah. Ever since the unicorn situation has brought itself upon us the past few years, I have seen barely any cops. Like I drive a half hour to and from work every day, and I see like maybe one cop if I'm lucky a day. It's crazy. Like I just feel like there's like less police out there, you know. So why would you not want to be able to protect yourself? You know, what's the
Yeah, not
argument?
only that,
The argument
but
is like, you know, if you're getting robbed by somebody, what are you going to be like? Oh, I got robbed, and they didn't even have their concealed carry permit. They should have taken a class. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
right,
are you going to be worried that they didn't take a class when they're robbing you? Like, I don't know.
right, exactly. And I don't know if that's just, you've mentioned that before with the cops, and I haven't really noticed the same thing. But what I would like to add to that is you shouldn't just rely on the police officers to protect you.
Yeah,
I mean, they have a job to do. Their job is to quote unquote serve and protect, but they're really serving and protecting the system and society and the way society functions, which is not a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but that is something to consider when it comes to your well-being, because your well-being may not actually align with society's well-being, and the cops are there to protect society, not you individually. So that's the big thing to remember here, is that cops aren't bad, but they're set up to serve and protect the system in which they work within, and that makes sense. And you work within that system too. Everybody does, pretty much, in America. So understand their place, and if you can become more sovereign over your ability to protect yourself and your family, that means you're more powerful. But it also means you have more responsibility. It's definitely better to have friends close by that will help protect you in a bad situation than rely on the police officers. 100%. And so this bill will enable that, I believe.
that's what I like about my neighborhood, man. Like, everybody kind of like watches out for each other. You know, there's like normally always someone home to like keep an eye on the houses and stuff. And my car still got stolen in the middle of the day.
Yeah, that actually happened over on a street near where we live. We used to live in the same neighborhood, not on the same street, but in the same neighborhood. It's about 5 minutes away from here. A car got stolen in the middle of the night. And this is a good area. We live in a good area. We live in a upper middle class, and in some parts wealthy area. So things are definitely getting, you know, violent crimes are ramping up, and crimes in general are going to be increasing, especially as prices go up, people lose their jobs, all of these things that will eventually take place as we keep seeing where we're heading. It's inevitable if we keep going in this direction. So it's not a bad idea to allow citizens to protect themselves how they wish. And if they wish to conceal carry, let them do so.
Yeah, man. Second Amendment. It's the second for a reason, in my opinion.
Yeah,
They would have made it like the last one if it wasn't as important, right? I mean, I think they're made in order of importance.
right. So, it's we'll see what happens. I tend to think that Mike DeWine will sign the bill into law, especially after the complete caving to the whole unicorn narrative. I think that he's going to try to win back some favors from the citizens. because there's a huge portion of Ohio that
It's his
is
only chance. If he doesn't pass this, he's done.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. I tend to think that he will want to pass it, but we'll see.
Although, I mean, I haven't looked into who's running against him. I'm sure it's not much better. So
Joe Blystone is one of the candidates. I haven't looked much into him, but apparently he's more of like an independent candidate, so or a libertarian, one of the two.
Hey, he could just sign it, and then we could kick him out anyway.
Right. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, there's a lot of states that are doing that right now. And maybe it'll be a good thing. Maybe it'll be a bad thing. I know some police departments are against it, as I mentioned earlier, but I think it's going to, in my opinion, I think it's going to be overall a good thing. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. But the other thing that we're going to be covering into national news is sort of related to this.
Well, we got that other local thing.
Okay.
It's a $2.5 million grant for from the Department of Treasury, and it's for the rental assistance grant funded by the Department of Treasury, and it's going to be hitting residents' pockets in Summit County, depending on your situation. They got a bunch of different programs they're going to be doing. One of the more controversial programs is a $75,000 contract with UPD Consulting, which I'm not sure what that is. It's some kind of company to provide management and consultation services for phase 2 of the Racism as a Public Health Crisis Special Review Committee for Summit County. And so, if there's a racism crisis happening, then maybe we should have guns. That's what I'm saying. I don't want to get shot because I'm Italian. Someone might rob me for some spaghetti.
So where's the money going to for the grants, the other grants?
There's some other ones. There's a $58,000, well, it's about $59,000 almost, contract with the Asian Services in Action. It's going to provide jobs and ready placement services for refugees in the area.
Sounds like it's time to move out of Summit County.
Let's see. There is a $1.7 million from the U.S. Department of Justice, Bureau of Justice Affairs, Court of Common Plea program. Just a bunch of government projects as well. Here's one: $11.1 million to various contractors for the Summit County jails for heating, ventilation, and air conditioning and plumbing projects. So basically, they're just ramping up. I guess it's not really going to help us too much unless you're a refugee or maybe some kind of minority that's facing a racism crisis.
But what the hell is even a public? How is it a public health crisis for racism? How does racism equate to a public health crisis? How does that even begin to work?
I don't know. I guess you'd have to be a minority to experience. You don't understand, Luis. You're just not.
I am a minority.
What?
I'm Puerto Rican.
I thought we were just white people.
So, but seriously though, what the hell? This doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, and it's crazy because it's not even saying what it's for. It's just giving it to some UPD consulting company to provide management and consultation services for phase 2 of the Racism as a Public Health Crisis Special Review Committee from July 1st to June 30th. So I guess they're just going to have a big ass party and blow $75,000 that whole month. I'm not really sure what they're going to do with it. It doesn't.
$75,000 really isn't even a lot of money. What is that supposed to accomplish? What is it going to do?
I mean, you could have a good time. They could go on a badass cruise or something for $75,000 for a whole month.
Right. But racism, I mean, what's the deal? And plus, most people in Akron are minorities. So what the hell?
Yeah, I don't know. There's a very mixed, diverse population there in Akron. We got all kinds. We got Nepalese, we got Mexicans, we got African Americans, white people, Italians.
What are white people? That also doesn't make any sense.
I don't know. You said
White people.
you
What
called
are
me
white
a
people?
while ago.
What's that?
Whenever we had our original podcast, I remember you were like, "You're white, man."
I don't remember that. But what are white people?
I don't know, man. You
Does that
tell
even
me.
make sense?
You told me. You told me I was white because we were talking about how I'm Italian. You know, I don't know. I mean, I guess Caucasian. I don't know. I guess it's up for debate.
Just like, what is black? Like, what are black people?
Yeah, I just like to refer to us all as Americans, but
That's gay too.
okay,
We're not all
okay, we're all humans.
We are all humans.
Does that make you better?
Yes, I agree with that. We are all humans, but it makes no sense. So, like, this whole white people against black people, what the hell does that even mean? When you really think about it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, are white people all unified? No, they're not. It makes no sense. Are black people all unified? No, they're not. It makes no sense. Are brown people all No. Are yellow people? No.
Well, you're never going to be able to unify everybody.
That's why
you're never going to be able to unify everybody. That's why they couldn't get everybody to wear the face coverings. That's why they can't get everyone to take the pokey, because they can't. That's why they can't stop murder. You know, you cannot get everyone to follow lockstep. Like, it's just never.
I guess why would you want to either? But no, like, dive into that a little bit. I mean, why do we call people white? Okay, so no, actually, you may be right, because there was a time in my life where I did think that way, and it's because I was brainwashed. So I think that you were 100% right that I did say that, no, you're white, because I used to be in line with that thinking. But that makes no sense, because
okay, I mean, if you just looked at me, how would you describe me? Would you, like, if you got robbed by somebody, would you say it was a human with a beard? You'd be like, no, it was a white guy with a beard. You know what I'm saying? It's just a way to describe people.
Yeah, but that's a blanket term. That's my point.
Well, yeah, but you got to start somewhere. If you say human with a beard, they're going to be like, this dude's a dumbass. We're
just of course. Of course. You're going to say that they have a light complexion. You're going to say, you can say,
no, you're going to say he's a white guy. You're not going to say he has a light complexion. Who speaks like that?
You could. I mean, a lot of people speak like that. You can say they have a light complexion. You can say they're tan. You can say they're caramel. You can say they're light skin. You can say they're white. But nobody's actually even white, really. It also doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've seen some pretty pale people.
Right.
They look.
But
anyway, this is Moral of the story is the government's just dumping more money into dumb stuff. And what are they doing with why do they need to upgrade the ventilation in the prison system? Is it because of the unicorn? I'm sure that had something to do with it.
Probably.
I've heard cases of that flaring up too over in Hong Kong. I haven't looked into it too much. I just heard some rumblings.
Yeah, I haven't looked into it much either. I think the narrative is pretty much dead. And what we're going to see is a attempt to revive it through the amount of death that there will be probably from the on-jab. I'm not on-jab, I'm sorry, the jab. And then they'll blame it on the on-jab.
They're going to come for us. They're going to try and blame us. They're going to say it's their fault that this is coming back. Everything was good for like a year, and then you guys had to screw it up.
Right. I mean, yeah, that's probably what's going to happen. But the thing is the evidence will overshadow it, and so the narrative won't last very long. That's the thing that people.
Yeah, but they control the evidence with censorship. I mean, they control the narrative.
No, they only control what is on the main channels, which most people have eyes on.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways that people can get this evidence. People have been doing it forever. The evidence is out there, and so you can easily find it, really, if you want to dig a little bit. So this also, I think it's a little nonsense to say, they're going to hide everything from you. They won't. I mean, it's easy to find this information. There's a lot of people that I follow who are extremely banned. They don't have a YouTube. They can't have a YouTube. They can't have a Twitter. They have to keep getting new Instagrams. They're not on Facebook. They're banned off of Twitch. They're banned off of D Live. But you can still find them places. Like, they're out there. So the thing is, the evidence will always be there. So the most important thing to realize, when lies are being spewed, they will always fail, which is why we live in this world where it seems everything's changing all the time, but it's really not. Like, that's another lie.
They say the more things change, the more they stay the same. I've heard that somewhere. I don't know.
The more things change, the more they stay the same.
I don't know.
I
don't even know where the hell it's from. I just heard it before.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, there's this whole quote, like, the only constant is change. But that's such bullshit. I don't believe
what is it. I mean, you're constantly changing. You're aging. My kid's learning new words every day and stuff. I mean,
no. Things stay the same, man. The truth never changes.
He's gonna start growing ball hairs soon. He didn't have that then. That's a change. You know what I'm saying? Not soon. Maybe in like 10 years. But
yeah, but it's not okay. So that's
it is a change. So, his voice will change. His mind may change.
Yes, but that's not. So, for instance, I use these examples all the time because they're the most obvious things. The seasons are consistently the same. We deal with 4 seasons here, and you can say, well, we change throughout the seasons, but the seasons themselves never change. That's a constant. It's a constant 4 seasons. You're never going to get a 5th season.
Well, yeah, there's constants.
So the truth is always the same. As far as development goes, yes, you can say that. True. My children are growing all the time. They're developing as well, just like yours. But they're going to reach an age where their development stays stagnant. It is what it is.
But then you change in your mind, just like you were saying a few years ago. You were thinking differently than you do now. So
but once you find truth, like the reason, like once you start finding truth in certain ideas, then you never waver from them. Like, for instance, my mind changed from being pro-abortion to anti-abortion, right? And my mind has never changed since.
Yeah.
My mind has never changed from the jabs. Like, I knew even before I had kids, I would never get them jabbed for years. My mind never changed from that.
Yeah.
So there are things, once you realize that they're true, you don't waver from them. But yes, there are things that fluctuate. Yes, life is. My whole point is that in essence, that isn't true.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of those unponderables. What the Buddhists call them, unponderables, like things. Like, why do you even think about this shit? Like, because it doesn't really matter, just kind of like live life.
True. But one thing that has been changing is the militarization of the police in America. A lot of people have been talking about that for a while, and it's changing in that it's no longer just providing military-grade weapon to police departments, but they're also sending them to Ukraine.
Yeah. People are even donating their own money to Ukraine. Like, who the hell is going to donate your hard-earned money to Ukraine? Like,
it's so stupid.
What the hell?
It makes no sense.
That's probably just going into Joe Biden's kid's pocket or something anyway. Probably going to get kicked off for that one.
Well, that's the funny thing that a lot of people seem to forget is, Ukraine is a huge, huge hub for sex trafficking, a huge hub for pornography. And we want to defend that country.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the tip of. I mean, that's the tip of the iceberg. There's way more stuff going on, like
exactly.
That,
I mean, what country would you want to support? And by the way, I don't support the war. I do think Russia has a legal case for doing what they're doing in eastern Ukraine because of the deal that they made with NATO. NATO has not held their end of the bargain, and Russia just doesn't want NATO and the UN approaching their doorstep. But tell me this, would you want to be more aligned with a country that is like one of the biggest child and sex trafficking places in the world and porn makers in the world, or a place where if you make a joke about getting a blowjob in front of an Orthodox church, you go to jail. Like that seems more. They seem like a better moral country, a more moral country than Ukraine. And so, why wouldn't you want to support the morally superior nation?
People don't care about morals in this country. That's why they're okay with. That's why they're against Russia. But whenever we genocided 1 million Iraqis, nobody batted an eye.
Right, we supported it. We were like, we have to do it for freedom.
I mean, if you look at the images from the war in Iraq compared to the images in Ukraine, it's like a joke, dude. Like
not only that,
the first 48 hours of us bombing Iraq was like way worse than anything you'll see in Ukraine. I mean, it was like there was just bombs everywhere going off. Like, and you mean to say that that wasn't us killing civilians? Like, come on.
Right, and we can. Yeah, I mean, there's just so many hypocrisies. But the other thing that we have to consider too is when we're talking about this war in Iraq, how likely was it that they were staging a lot of those events too? I mean, we already know that they're staging events in Ukraine. That's provable. I mean, they're using literal video game footages.
Yeah,
insane. So you mean to tell me that they don't have this? They didn't do the same thing in Iraq? Like, I think that a lot of these wars aren't necessarily as bad as they claim them to be. And that doesn't mean that I'm denying that there are wars and that people are dying, children are dying, women are dying, men are dying, that they're fighting for their nation. That doesn't mean that. But rather, a lot of it, I believe, is made to look a lot worse than what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of messed up videos and stuff online and of multiple different things. Like things I've seen in Syria are probably the worst things I've ever seen. And what I've seen, like, for example, in Ukraine, there was a headline recently, they bombed a maternity ward or whatever, right? Okay. They said they bombed a maternity ward, but the building was fully intact. Like the windows were blown out and there was like a crater in the ground or something, but they didn't like level the building or anything.
And Russia denies even doing it.
And I guess there was an image of like a pregnant lady with like a bandage on her head with some blood dripping down, but if that was Iraq, the whole building probably would have been crumbled. Like, I don't know.
Well, and also, I mean, you have another side completely denying the events, and you can just say, oh, well, they're lying. But we actually have evidence that our media lies to us all the time. And that doesn't mean that the Russian media are not liars either, but it's something to consider. You have conflicting stories. Who's telling the truth? And you can't even verify that these photos are legit. So
you just have to go to ask the Ministry of Truth. They'll tell you.
Right. And they're telling us that, oh my God, Russia. So here's the thing to consider. In Iraq, I think it was somewhere in the Middle East. I don't remember. Iraq, Afghanistan, someplace, Pakistan, one of the places over there. There was a lie that came out. Okay, that this military in the Middle East was going in and bayoneting babies in incubators. And it was alleged by a nurse who was there. Come to find out, the nurse lied. She's not even a nurse. And this amplified the war in the Middle East because they lied about soldiers going over there, bayoneting babies. Okay, complete lie.
Yeah.
Now, what if this is the same thing? I mean, have they talked about how many babies died? How many women died?
Before we, the maternity ward thing in Ukraine, I don't even think a single person died, and they're trying to say it was like genocide.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. I read an article where they talked about babies being delivered during the bombing, and then it said these babies deserve life. And they never mentioned if the babies died. They never mentioned what condition they were in.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Right before we left Iraq, we did like a bomb attack. We blew up some car filled with people in it that were all civilians.
Right.
Like, whatever. They admitted to it. They said that it was an accident or whatever. And all is forgiven.
Here's the thing, like, I think that
I don't want to get. I know you don't want to get big in the hypocrisy thing.
Well, no, I mean, it's not bad to point it out, but the thing is like in the Ukraine, we have no real evidence of this is happening, but I can tell you, for instance, I know military members, veterans, who have had to kill children. Like I know them, and this stuff does happen in war. It does happen in war. So like, don't. It's effed up. It's really effed up. They've had to do some horrible things in war, and we're just not seeing similar things here in the Ukraine and Russia. I just don't get the same vibes.
They're blowing it out of proportion. It's
100%.
like how the maternity ward, not a single person died, but it's a genocide. Like in the same news report that they said nobody died, they're saying that that the Russians are genociding the Ukrainians. It's like, how in the hell does that even make sense?
Right. And we're using all these narratives to get back to how we got on this, to emotionally entice police departments to donate their used and expired body armor and helmets to the Ukrainian army.
Yeah.
And then now Joe Biden has just authorized $200 million to go to Ukraine to help them.
Yeah, I think we just sent $10 billion worth of missiles to them.
Yeah,
they said, I heard somewhere that there was a study that $20 billion could end homelessness in the country, and they sent $10 billion in missiles.
Yeah, well, that study's BS too. I mean, Elon Musk sort of proved that. He was like, okay, let me give you the amount of money you wanted to solve world hunger. I'll pay you that. And he did.
Well, I think he's BS. I think that was he doesn't. If he really wanted to change the world, he would not be doing what he's doing. I personally think I think that dude is like really like a mad scientist, really trying to take over the world type shit. He works hand in hand with the government. I mean, supposedly they work together for the space program. I cannot trust the dude.
No, I definitely get that. I definitely do get where you're coming from, because I'm not a big fan of Elon Musk either. All I'm saying is that allegedly that money was sent to whatever organization to help solve world hunger, and world hunger is still here. And he did make a good point. Don't get me wrong. He does do a lot of truth drops. He's like a day walker in a way, right? Because he does speak a lot of truth. He's one of the only elites that we do not talk about the fact that we actually need to make more babies. He's for transhumanism too, but he's actually somebody who wants to see more humans, and he has a lot of kids himself. So I agree, like on that part of Elon Musk.
And he wants them all to live in a little tiny house that's like a 1-bedroom house or some shit. You know how like he sold his mansions and he bought like some little tiny house.
Well, you're inferring that's what he wants to do with other people. Maybe.
Well, I mean,
that's what he did with his life. That doesn't mean that he wants everybody else to do that. Well, and it doesn't matter, because he's still flying around in private jets. He's still multi-billion.
Well, it's virtue signaling. He's like, oh, you don't need a big house. Be like me and have this little tiny cubicle. And your wife's probably like, what the hell? I can't leave him. He's rich. Or maybe she's got the brain chip. That's the only way she's staying.
Right. Well, I mean, she could find other rich men.
She could just leave his ass and be rich. That's what I'm saying. Maybe she has the brain chip. I don't know.
He doesn't even have
have like a bunch of land and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you were rich, why would you want to just live in a little ass house? Maybe he has land somewhere, I'm sure, but I don't know.
I mean, Warren Buffett does something similar.
Huh?
Warren Buffett does something similar.
Yeah, I don't know. He's old as shit, though. I mean, he probably couldn't even walk across the property.
Yeah. Anyway, Elon Musk, with that all being said, he's actually helping out, I think, the Ukrainians with satellites as well.
Yeah. Another reason not to trust the dude.
Well, he does tell a lot of truth. That's the thing. So it's like, he's not all bad. And the thing is, we can look at anybody in that level of position and point fingers and say how evil and corrupt they are. But we have no clue what kind of world they live in.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to know really. I've never met the guy, obviously. So, and even if you do meet the guy, I mean, it takes a little bit more than meeting somebody once to really know who they are.
Right. Well, and just getting back to the topic on hand here, this whole
the police. sending their weapons.
Well, Mick has joked about this before, and we might see this too with the militarization of police, where maybe Tesla or Elon Musk makes another company
where we're gonna make a RoboCop, baby.
Right.
That's I predicted that shit years ago. It's gonna happen. I'm serious. I knew, like, whenever we were having all these issues where they were trying to get rid of the police and stuff, because the police don't want to die. You know what I'm saying? So they shoot. So why not make a RoboCop that's not going to shoot because they don't have to worry about dying, and you can, then they don't have to use excessive force and kill the person because they're a robot. They'll just like tackle the person. What are you going to shoot the robot? Like, I don't know.
Take out its fucking computer.
Maybe. I don't know.
Chip, whatever is making it run.
Unless the robot does like an EMP or something and stops your electric gun, they want to put like chips in them or something. I don't know. I'm just saying, I think there's going to be a RoboCop, and I think Tesla's going to do it because they already have their hand in the government's pocket. So even though it's weird because Joe Biden doesn't talk about Tesla, I think it got under Elon's skin during his last big EV speech. He's like, really? You didn't talk about me? You talked about all these other ones, and maybe maybe the reason why is because they don't want people to they're kind of trying to keep Tesla under the rug because they're going to make the RoboCop. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't really know at all when it comes to that. I mean, it's just pure speculation. But
yeah, it is just pure speculation. But you heard it here first. If Tesla makes the RoboCop, I'm buying.
Then Mick guessed right. I mean, we have no other evidence to go off of except for they're teamed up with the government and police officers don't want to die. That's the reasoning behind it. So it's just pure conjecture. It might be right, it might be wrong. We'll see though. But definitely, it's interesting. Going back to the whole topic on hand, what we're talking about with the police department sending equipment to Ukraine, I don't think it's ever been done before. I couldn't find any stories where police departments have done this in the past.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, sending leftover equipment to other countries, that seems like treasonous or something. I was like, what the hell? Shouldn't we be keeping that here? And what the hell does that mean? Expired helmets, expired body armor. How the hell does it go bad? It looks like all the equipment they're using in Russia is expired.
Well, I mean, I guess if you think about it, like tires, every 7 years you're supposed to change your tires, even if you have a lot of tread left, because the integrity wears out over time. So maybe it's the same thing.
Maybe they're riddled with bullet holes, and so they're expired. I don't know.
Right. They're giving them actual used shot at bulletproof vests and helmets have bullet holes in them.
But I think that this is just going to help the companies who make weapons and shit. We're dumping all these weapons into Ukraine. All the weapons manufacturers are like, yes, this is amazing, and their stock prices are going through the roof.
For sure.
I think Lockheed Martin just hit an all-time high recently.
Yeah, I mean, that's something you mentioned earlier. It's you
should have bought that shit whenever they had their or Boeing, or they're all going through the roof. You should have, whenever they had that big controversy where they were flying that plane, even though they knew it was crashing, that shit crashed. Their stock did. You should have bought it then. Right now, boom, you're going up. This isn't finance, though.
Right. No, you're not lying. I mean, it's 100% true what you're saying, and definitely it allows for the weapon manufacturers to make more money during war. That's true. Everybody knows that. And we're probably going to start seeing more food shortages because of the wars that are going on. Maybe not here, but definitely in Europe, I would say. Yeah. Because I think Russia is one of the biggest fertilizer suppliers.
And wheat. Ukraine and Russia, yeah. I don't know exactly what it is. This is 20% or 10% of the whole world or something, maybe?
I don't know the exact numbers, but it's pretty high. So it's going to be interesting to see how this continuously plays out. I still think, this is my opinion, as I've been, there's a lot of evidence to suggest this, that domestic terrorism is going to be the next biggest thing, one of the next biggest things. And maybe the militarization of police officers here in America has something to do with the build-up towards it. I'm not sure, but we'll see. So, wars everywhere is essentially what I'm saying. There's going to be war on multiple fronts, and right now we have this war of minds taking place. especially with this whole Ukraine-Russia narrative.
It's the info wars.
Yeah, yeah. Alex Jones had it right.
But this whole militarizing the police thing has been going on since Obama. He was the big one
Before.
to bring all the weapons left over from Iraq over to the military. And now that the stuff's getting old, they're like, well, let's just give it to Ukraine so we can virtue signal and get new stuff.
Well, they're not giving away their stuff that they're using. They're giving away leftover stuff.
Yeah, well, then they can maybe get more. I don't know.
But they're not even using this equipment. Like, you read the articles and, like, police officers are like, I just had, like, 15 bulletproof vests laying in my basement, so I decided to donate them.
Well, then maybe they should have donated them to people in Ohio since we're all about to be walking around with guns.
Right.
But I don't even think you're allowed to have a bulletproof vest, are you? Isn't that like illegal or something?
I don't know the laws
Or
behind
depends
it.
on where you live.
I don't know what the laws are behind it. Maybe.
I'm pretty sure. You know, they always be busting people with like bulletproof vests. They're like, you know, saying that they got busted with bulletproof body armor and all this stuff. So then they try to say they were planning something. I don't think it's. I mean, there's people who send their kids to school with bulletproof book bags or some shit.
What?
You never heard of that? You never heard of that? Yeah, that's a thing, man. They got like bulletproof pads in the back of people's book bags and shit. People send their kids to school with it. I'm surprised you never heard of that.
No.
If you're sending your kid to school with a fucking bulletproof vest, then maybe you should not be sending them to school.
Right. That's insane.
Yeah.
Well, Mick, go over some of the stuff that's going on in Yemen.
Well, it's been going on for a long time in Yemen. I guess just a few days ago, actually, there was a drone attack where they attacked some Saudi oil refineries, but they didn't really do much damage. Luckily, otherwise, you probably would have seen the gas prices double because I'm pretty sure that's like where we're getting all of our oil from right now. Although Biden is like begging his former enemy in Venezuela to give us oil after they've like broken like they've destroyed the Venezuelan economy with sanctions and embargoes, you know, like, but now they're like, well, can we please, you know, they don't even like recognize Maduro as the leader, and now all of a sudden they're like trying to recognize him and ask him for oil. But yeah, in Yemen, I mean, they're basically being genocided with American weapons that we've sold to Saudis. I remember when Trump went over there and he got this big royal treatment. He had a big graph out and he was like pointing with a stick to all the different weapons. He's like, we're getting all this money from this and this and this, touting all the weapons we sold to them. And yeah, we're killing all these people. Nobody talks about it. It's hard to even find stuff. I looked up a video today. They were like knocking over a monument, it looked like, with a bulldozer. I don't know like what it was about. It was all in some foreign language. But yeah, they, you know, it's hard for them to do much because they're so poor compared to Saudi Arabia. But it's Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, like the two wealthiest countries in the Middle East, fighting Yemen. And I think it has a lot to do with like their geopolitical location. I think it's the Sea of Oman, or right there where Africa is. They own that strait there, or that half of it. And they want to control the government. It's all about trying to control that particular government. There's like a civil war going on. It's a huge, complicated mess. And recently, you know, they did that drone attack. They've done drone attacks like a month, 2 months ago. They did another drone attack, but this time it was on the UAE, like in Dubai, which is crazy because Dubai is basically where all the oil money from the Middle East funnels into. I need to look into more of that. I don't know the history of Dubai, but it's crazy how it's such a small country and it has this concentrated amount of wealth. I feel like they're really the true rulers of the Middle East. And so, yeah, I mean, I think we're like literally one severe attack on an oil refinery in Saudi Arabia from gas prices doubling. That's just like a theory. I heard something on the radio and I was like, that could be true. So it's not really like my theory, but right. And then this happened like just a few days after that, but nothing really happened. There was just a fire.
Yeah, because they didn't actually hit an oil refinery.
Yeah, they were trying to, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's
That's
It's so
That's really all
stupid
they can do.
because
They don't have much of a military. All they can do is just like little attacks and try and piss them off. You
right,
know, they're pretty much destroyed. The resistance in Yemen, the people who are trying to fight against the Saudi, because the Saudis are trying to put in a government that favors them, and the other half is pretty much. I'm surprised they're even still fighting. You know, because
right.
from what I've heard, it's like the worst humanitarian crisis in the world right now. And the Red Cross actually came out recently and said, "Hey, let's not forget about Yemen just because Ukraine's having problems." You know,
Right.
and the media is like, "No, let's forget about Yemen." So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we'll definitely see what happens with the oil prices. That's something for us to consider. I know it sounds kind of heartless because there are actual people dying in Yemen, but how is this going to affect our real lives? Oil prices, as Mick said, um, and you know, all of this could have been avoided had we just ramped up our oil production here in America.
yeah, Jen Balsaki. Um, That's just what some dude on YouTube calls her, and she had they do their little press conference like every couple days, and a reporter was asking her about the Keystone Pipeline. He's like, if we open up the Keystone Pipeline, like, are you guys considering that? And she's like, it wouldn't even help, because she's trying to say that all that does is like transport the oil. It doesn't actually produce the oil. And then she was saying, they have all these contracts. They could dig for oil, or they could pump oil out of the ground here in the US, but like, they're not doing it or something, which does make sense because a lot of investors aren't putting that money in there because the narrative is shifting towards this green energy BS.
Right.
So I don't know. We're like shooting ourselves in the foot, just like in Sri Lanka. All these countries are shooting themselves in the feet, trying to be virtuous. I don't know if you want to talk about the Sri Lanka thing.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go into it a little bit, but just to cap off that point right there, I think that's sort of what's being worked on, is changing the narrative so much so that people are tired of the fluctuation in gas prices and are like, what if we can just charge our cars? We don't have to worry about oil prices.
Yeah.
I think that's what people are leaning towards right now, because you're starting to see the memes for it. You're starting to see the jokes for it. You're starting to see comments for it.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's taking place. I don't know. I think there's a lot of incompetent leaders, but I think overall,
what's crazy
is an intelligent plan behind it.
Trump was like, I'm going to bring back coal. Well, Biden's like, no, I'm going to bring back coal because that's where all of our energy comes from, and everything's going to be electric cars now. So,
right.
But coal, like, how the hell are you going to be carbon neutral if you have all these coal power plants?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's all a lie to convince people to go on the electric vehicle. I mean,
it's the new get rich scheme. They must have bigger. They finally were able to overpower the oil lobbyists. The big tech was, or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm really not too sure either, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, in Sri Lanka, they're dealing with a crazy inflation crisis. Their inflation's like, I don't even know, it's like 40-50%, something crazy, going through the roof, because their government had like a 10-year plan to make all of their crops organic. And instead of waiting the whole 10 years to like implement the system correctly, they decided 2 years into the plan to just be like, we're going to do it now. And they banned synthetic fertilizers and all these things. And now everybody's like damn near starving. Like there's just like, it's crazy. They've screwed everything over, and they're actually going back on it now. Now they're like, okay, maybe we screwed up, but the damage may have been done in Sri Lanka. And some people are comparing it to what could be happening with us by shooting ourselves in the foot with oil. It's just a different thing, because they don't. Their biggest exports is their crops in Sri Lanka.
Gotcha.
Which Sri Lanka is that tiny little island south of India. So I don't know.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot going on in the world right now.
And Europe, they're shooting themselves in the foot with the oil pipeline.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? It's like all these countries are shooting themselves in the feet, trying to be virtuous.
Right, and that's the other thing that you just reminded me of. A lot of the boycotting that's taking place with Russia, China's now gobbling it up. They're
Yeah.
like, okay, you guys want to boycott? We'll come in. We'll do business with Russia.
Hmm. There was
And
some
then
guy that I
India,
listened to. Sorry, finish what you were saying, man.
I'm saying I think India is helping make a new payment system, and China's doing the same thing. So with
They don't
Russia
want the
being
dollar.
kicked out, I'm sorry.
They don't want the dollar anymore. They're going to do their own thing. It seems like.
Exactly, and I think that's what we're going to see. I think this whole I've been talking about it a lot in the TikTok videos I've been doing, but we're just seeing a shift of power, a true shift in power. The Western powers were like, "Yo, get Russia out of SWIFT, the international payment system," but then China, India, Russia, they all been working on their own payment system, and I think it's actually going to help out people in the Western world too, because let's say you get censored in America and you can no longer do business on PayPal, which happens. There are a lot of people who can no longer accept transactions on PayPal or Cash App because of their political views and what they say. But with the new payment systems being set up by Russia, China, India, you will have alternatives. So that's going to be good for a lot of people, actually.
Yeah. I just got one more thing. I know you got to be going soon. So there's this guy I listen to on YouTube, and he has a theory that he thinks, like, if the oil prices get bad enough that some states, like maybe like Texas or something or whatever, what if they just like say, screw you, feds, we're going to get oil from whoever the hell we want, and they send out their own ships. What happens if the feds try to like seize those ships? That could help lead to the balkanization. Could be
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, I never even thought about that. That's a really good point.
Yeah, I don't know.
We'll see. We're living in interesting times, that's for sure. So, guys, this is it for the show today. I hope you guys liked it. I hope you enjoyed it. We're going to be trying to make these shows a little more organized and better as we go on. So, yeah, but thank you guys for the support. Please hit that like button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. Every Sunday, we're here, trying to make it happen. So, yeah, thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Yep, stay ahead of the curve with us.
All right. Much love. Peace.